Hello, and welcome back to Treehouse. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Shannon, and I work here on the Marketing and Community Relations team, which means that I have the pleasure of helping to share the stories of the work that we do here at Treehouse. Today we are going to be discussing feline leukemia virus and our adopting out of cats who are positive for feline leukemia virus. And I think that's a pretty unique and special part of our story of the work that we do here in our mission of seeing every cat thrive. So that will be our topic for today, feline leukemia virus. What is it? What does it mean for cats who test positive, for people who adopt these cats? What are some common misconceptions about FeLV? When did we personally at Treehouse start adopting out these cats? Because we haven't always done so, and most shelters still do not adopt out FeLV positive cats. So we're going to talk about that decision and that part of our story, our testing practices here at the shelter, and then I will be showing you some adorable photos of some of the cats we have adopted out over the past several years who have been FeLV positive. And joining us today is going to be our Director of Operations, Danielle Case. Danielle has been here at Treehouse for several years now as our shelter manager and now as our Director of Operations. And she is a great resource for information on this topic. She has actually presented numerous times on FeLV, most notably at the Humane Society of the United States Conference in 2019. So we are going to bring in Danielle.
Hi.
Hey Danielle, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Where are you over there?
Huh?
Where are you located?
I am in the Cat Cafe at Treehouse Humane Society, which currently isn't open, but we are working to hopefully open it maybe within the next month, sometime in August. But you know, everything, we're kind of gauging everything based on COVID. But yeah, that's where I am currently. I'm hanging out with a couple of cats, Thomas O'Malley, Azriel, Peekaboo, and Dolly in here. They may make an appearance, but I can't promise it.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Ooh, there's some hissing going on. Sorry, I might have to intervene.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for joining us today as an expert on this topic. We today want to talk about, we obviously want to educate people on what FeLV is, but then also just focus on how we approach feline leukemia virus testing and adoption care here at Treehouse.
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's also just a lot of good work that's happening in this subject matter. So I think it's a really good thing to talk about.
Great. And if anyone watching has questions throughout, feel free to submit them in the comments. We will answer them as they come. So Danielle, let's just start off with the basics. To the average person, what would you say feline leukemia virus is? How do you describe that?
So I should work on my elevator pitch for what it is. To kind of succinctly describe it, because it can be a very complex virus. But in general, feline leukemia is a retrovirus, and there's no cure. So once a cat has been infected with it, they will have it for their entire life. There are different levels of kind of clinical signs for it, and depending on the cat's current state of testing and current state of, like, you know, whether they're positive or not, they could show different levels of clinical signs for it. It's spread through the saliva, and so, you know, cats that are, you know, if you have a positive cat and a negative cat that are sharing a space, it's possible to be passed through the saliva. But the most common way that it's passed through cats is usually from queen to kittens. And so the best way to prevent feline leukemia is to spay neuter all of the cats. So there's massive efforts all over the city in Chicago, and I know all over the nation, to make sure that spay neuter is happening. But that's going to be the most common way for it to be passed is from queen to kittens. And then kittens that kind of intermingle, because kittens are so like on top of each other all the time, you know? So
Right.
yeah, that's a good way for it to pass too.
So would it make sense to say that as TNR efforts have really ramped up in recent history, and spay neuter has been championed so much, that incidences of FeLV should be going down?
I think that's a good hypothesis. We in the TNR and spay neuter world, we're trying to have better data sets. And so as we increase our data and tracking of that data, we'll be able to know that a little bit better. But ideally, that's the goal for all TNR, is that we stop this upward climb of population, and we're able to maintain it better, but also that we can stop illness and disease spread. Things like rabies or Feline virus or pan-luke, all of these things that cats can get, ringworm. We can stop a lot of that just through spaying and neutering, because cats will be a lot less likely to kind of intermingle in those negative, like, fighting ways if they're spayed or neutered.
Right.
And have babies, because that's how it's passed on, fighting and having babies.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for a cat to have feline leukemia virus? How does that affect them? Is that a matter of life and death? What does it mean if a cat tests positive?
Yeah, good question. So sometimes we might not ever see the effects of feline leukemia. It's possible that a cat could live a while without seeing any symptoms. But usually when we know for sure that a cat has feline leukemia is when they become ill. So let's say they have an upper respiratory infection, which in the shelter we call a URI. And we try to treat it, and they're resistant to treatment, meaning that it's not going away with regular treatment, and we have to use more rigorous treatment to try to get their body to react. So that's usually how we in the shelter know. But let's say you have a cat at home who has feline leukemia, they're going to be exposed to viruses and illnesses a lot less. And so you may not see any kind of results of that until something happens in their body. And so sometimes we might see anemia happening. Certain types of cancers could happen because of feline leukemia. And so you might have a feline leukemia positive cat that, in the home that you don't really know until something more drastic happens.
Interesting. So FeLV in itself isn't the sickness or what's causing the symptoms, but you're saying it's more so that it's making cats who have other diagnoses more affected or resistant to treatment.
Correct. Yes. The feline leukemia definitely attacks the immune system. And so it's going to affect those white blood cells that really help a cat to defend their body from illness. So that's where we're going to see some big issues.
Okay, that makes sense. So what does it mean to adopt a cat with feline leukemia virus then? Does their care look different?
A little bit, just with your expectations. And it's hard to say for sure, because we can never, like any cat, we could never determine what a cat's lifespan is going to look like, or what their prognosis is. And so we do our best to communicate here at Tree House when somebody does adopt a feline leukemia cat that here's some things that you might expect and some things that you want to watch out for. But we have no gauge of when things are going to happen or, what kind of care that will, and we can anticipate. So if you adopt a feline leukemia cat, there's a lot of action going on around me. If you adopt a feline leukemia cat, it's good to just monitor things very closely. And so it's things that you would typically be wanting to monitor in your own cats. So appetite, litter box behavior, energy levels, any kind of vocalizing, in the litter box specifically. So those are the kind of the big ones that we're going to want to monitor when, you have a feline leukemia cat, or really any cat, but specifically when you have a feline leukemia cat. And then you're just going to want to be on top of those if you do notice a change in appetite or a change in energy level, or stuff that's happening in the litter box that's different, like blood in the stool or straining or things like that, because that could be indicative of something worse that's happening. And so you would want to get on that with your vet as soon as possible. You can also expect that, a feline leukemia positive cat's lifespan is going to be decreased. We can never say for sure, but typically after diagnosis, it's, anywhere from 2 to 4 years. Cats have been known to live longer than that. Cats have been known to live shorter lives than that. And again, it's really all a matter of what kind of health the cat's in.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of what you're describing sounds like things that you would consider even if you had a cat that was negative for feline leukemia virus. So it doesn't sound like in your daily life it really affects too much.
Absolutely. I know specifically I have 2 sibling sister cats, and they were both diagnosed with kidney disease at a pretty early age, at the age of 7, which, kidney disease is incredibly common in cats, especially in the older age. But they, for some reason, were diagnosed with it a lot sooner than cats typically are. And so we can assume that it's probably something that's hereditary with them. But, with that, it was just aging with my cats. I had a cat that was vomiting and had diarrhea a lot. So we went to the vet and checked it out. And sure enough, we saw this, that she had levels in her blood that were indicative of kidney disease. And so it kind of just like that, you just want to monitor things, like any of your cats at home. You just want to monitor and make sure that you're watching carefully to make sure the kitties are in best health and just as comfortable as they can be.
Yeah, definitely. I know sometimes we, when we post cats on our social media channels, or we talk about them in different formats, we don't always try to highlight or, make that the biggest thing about them if they're FeLV positive, because that isn't the biggest thing about them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's very important to, take note of those health concerns when you're adopting. Don't take on more than you should or that you feel like you are ready for. We never want to push that here at Tree House. But, one of the things that we really do focus on at Tree House with the adoptions is a personality match,
Right.
a lifestyle match. So, if you hate being too active or having to be too attentive to an animal or playtime, a kitten probably is a little bit much, kind of things like that. So taking into consideration those things is our main factor. And then we'll always talk about the medical issues or the medical concerns when you are thinking about adopting as well, to take that into consideration too. But we definitely don't want to box a cat in by like, this cat's leukemia.
Exactly. I should rephrase. We definitely want people to be informed, but the status of whether or not they have feline leukemia virus isn't what defines that whole cat.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So in that same note, what would you say are some common misconceptions about FeLV?
Good question. So I would say that the 2 biggest things is that it's highly contagious.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. So the virus is not very strong outside of the body, meaning that if a cat would come and sit on my lap and, lick my arms and I'm, touching and petting it, and then I go home to my cats at home, it's not going to travel. Even if I, do that in the shelter here and I'm petting a feline leukemia cat and they're licking me and whatever, if I happen to not wash my hands and go upstairs and pet another cat, it is not likely to travel very well and actually stay on me. In the shelter, what we do is we wash our hands all the time in between any room, simply because we don't want to pass anything.
Right.
And so we do that with the feline leukemia cats as well. And we make a note of it to our guests as well, because if it would happen to pass to another cat, it's just pretty detrimental for another cat to get that. But like I said, it's very disinfectable, very easily disinfectable, and it doesn't travel well. It doesn't live in the environment very well. So that's probably one of the biggest things. Then the other biggest misconception, I think, is that it's a death sentence. Now, the lifespan of a cat is decreased. So I want to be very clear on that. You're not going to have, typically the same long life that a lot of cats have. However, they still do typically, unless they're showing clinical signs of other things happening, they have life. They are still very full of life. And that's why we give them a chance for adoption here at Tree House. So it's not an immediate death sentence. It's not a reason for euthanasia unless they're showing severe clinical signs.
So in response to that, then someone might ask, why doesn't every animal shelter adopt out cats that are positive for the virus? I know that there are some other factors at play there. Can you kind of touch on that and why it isn't the common practice?
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why some shelters are not doing this. So let's see. Let's start with just common practices and protocols. A lot of shelters, Tree House has a director of veterinary services, and we have a clinic in-house, which means that we have a director of veterinary services who is very. Can you guys hear this?
Yes, I can hear there's something going on over there.
She's having a good time in her cage. Yeah. She's just rolling around playing with a ball. It's cute.
We'll check on them later.
I'm distracted. I'm sorry, where was I? Oh, director of veterinary services. So yes, we have somebody who is, very well informed about infectious diseases. And so that means that we are regularly up to date on the new information on infectious diseases and how to avoid them, how to disinfect, how to treat them, how to spread that education through our shelter. And a lot of shelters don't have that. A lot of shelters and rescues don't have that immediate access to that kind of knowledge. And so when you don't have that immediate access to that kind of knowledge, and that's not so easily grabbable, then you already are a nonprofit that doesn't have a whole lot of staff, time, and resources to spend on education. This might not be a priority for them to do this and to take in cats that have feline leukemia. It's a lot easier for them to, get a cat that's feline leukemia positive and then transfer them out to another shelter that already is adopting those cats out. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I'm hearing from other shelters for why they're not adopting out feline leukemia positive cats. But another reason is testing. The testing methods for feline leukemia are incredibly confusing. So depending on when you test for feline leukemia could determine if that cat is actually positive or not. And you can get false positives. It also depends on the type of test you use, the series of tests that you do, and the cat's state of health when you test. So there's a lot of factors that go into whether a test is accurate or not, which is a lot to consider, especially for, again, like I said, a nonprofit, possibly a nonprofit that doesn't have as much access to that new information. And so, there's a lot to know. And then also just housing and, making sure that they, if you do have a free roaming shelter like we do here at Tree House, it's a little bit more difficult to to adopt out feline leukemia cats, because we would recommend that there is a separate area for them, rather than putting them in with other feline leukemia negative cats. But a shelter with cages that house cats in cages rather than in a free roaming environment, there's really no reason why they couldn't, because like we said before, it doesn't actually pass on very easily at all to other cats. And so, if I'm cleaning this cage up here and it has a cat that's feline leukemia positive in it, and then I switch my direction and I clean this cage down here with a cat that's feline leukemia negative in it, it's not going to pass from that cage to that cage. And so, I think that, that's something for that shelters may or may not know that are housing in cages, is that it's just not going to pass through that way.
Right.
It's a lot more, direct contact and like licking and, grooming. And that's why it passes between kittens so easily, because they're always all over top of each other and stuff. And then I think the last point is probably that, adopting out a feline leukemia cat does take a lot more time.
That length of stay can go up. Absolutely,
yeah. And so if, let's say we have a shelter that doesn't have a vet resource, they house in cages, and maybe they don't live in a community that is as, virus savvy, I guess. Some of the smaller, like suburban communities sometimes don't have as much access to that information on the viruses, mostly because some of those are, there's like one shelter in one town. And so they may not have a vet clinic in that shelter. And so with that information, they may not have, all the information to pass on to adopters. And so adopting is a lot harder. You have a cat that's staying in a cage for a really long time, and that's really an inhumane practice to keep a cat in a cage for a while. We really want to get them out of the shelter as soon as possible. And so with those factors, there's a lot of things playing against feline leukemia positive adoptions in some shelters.
And we didn't always adopt out cats that were FeLV positive.
Nope, we didn't. So this program started in 2017. How many years ago? 3 years ago, I think. Yes.
Okay.
Really easy math. What year is it? Where are we?
It's the times.
Yes, it's just this right where we are right now in life. So yeah, Tree House didn't adopt out feline leukemia positive cats, before 2017. But we started in 2017 with a couple of cats that happened to have tested positive. They were Blue Fairy and Pinocchio. And, at that time, our new director of veterinary services had just started, and she happened to have a lot of knowledge in shelter medicine and infectious diseases. And she thought, hey, let's give this a shot. Why not? So we took this area of the shelter that really wasn't being utilized for anything that we needed. And so we changed it into a feline leukemia pop-up adoption room. So we put these positive cats in there, and we let adopters hang out with them in there. We talked about it. We had information in that room so that the adopters could read about feline leukemia and how it would affect them. And we got those cats adopted out. And so since we were successful, we said, let's keep on doing this. Why not? We do get positive cats here, and we're not going to stop that. And these cats have a lot of life as it is, and they seem like, they can at least live, a couple years, if not longer, with this disease. So let's adopt them out. And it's been successful. And we've been able to double our capacity of feline leukemia since that time. And I think even triple at this point, really. We've had, I think we started off with 2, and we've had up to like 8 in the shelter at one point. So yeah. Yeah.
Let's take a look at those cuties who started it all.
So cute.
Yes. So this is the black kitten on your left is Pinocchio Jr. And Blue Fairy is the gray little kitten on your right. And they were brother and sister, actually. So they came to us in July of 2016. At that time, they were around 3 months old. And we actually adopted them out. They went home together in September of the same year. So they weren't even with us that long, which I thought was pretty awesome that we were able to make that decision that we wanted to see these cats thrive and find them loving homes in a pretty short span of time.
Yeah. They did go home very quickly. It helps that they were adorable, and they were. I remember they were very active. They loved the glitter wand.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they loved that.
yeah, they're cuties.
They are.
So we do, as you said, keep our FeLV positive cats in a separate area of the shelter. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if we could talk about if negative and positive cats can live together in the shelter. Is that different than in a home? How do we approach that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of information out there about how much feline leukemia can be passed on to other cats. So like I said, we're going back to the idea that it does not live outside of the body very well. There was, an experiment or a test at one point where they did try to give feline leukemia to cats who were healthy and did not have feline leukemia. Not that we condone that at all, but that was a test, and they weren't really able to be successful in that. However, it has been known to be passed on to other cats. And so I think that, here at Tree House, our theory or our method is that in the shelter, we do not mix them. There's a couple of reasons for that. So ideally, if you wanted to mix a feline leukemia and a feline leukemia negative cat.
It's a lot of words.
You would want to vaccinate that feline leukemia negative cat, and that would have to happen. So you would want to vaccinate, and then they would need a booster, and then every year they would need that vaccination. And so that is a lot to keep up with, and especially for a humane society that's a nonprofit, that's a lot of expense to take on. That can be used elsewhere in other better ways. And so rather than mixing them, we actually keep them in a separate area just for their safety. And also the other thing in the shelter environment to keep in mind is that stress is higher than in a home environment. And so here, illnesses and viruses are going to be much more prevalent because stress, as we all know, if you're stressed at home and you have a lot of things going on at work or at home, you're going to be more likely to get sick because your immune system is taking a big hit for that. And so the same thing goes for cats. They're in this new environment. They either were brought in off the street or from another shelter or from a home that unfortunately wasn't able to keep their cat for some reason or another. And then, so for all of those, they're changing from that environment to this new environment, and this environment is not consistent. There's new cats all the time. There's new people cleaning all the time. We have to clean pretty often to make sure that things don't spread. And in the home environment, you have one person or a couple people or a family, and those are your people. And so you don't have to get used to different people all the time. And then you're usually not cleaning your house as frequently as we're cleaning here. And so all of those factors are very stressful for cats. And so their immune system is going to go down, or their how much their immune system can fight things off is going to go down. So they're going to be much more susceptible to getting something like feline leukemia if they're living with a feline leukemia positive cat in that environment. Now at home, if somebody came in here and wanted to adopt a feline leukemia cat and they had a feline leukemia negative cat at home, what we would recommend and talk to them about is how important it is to first discuss with their vet getting their cat vaccinated and doing that before intermingling those cats. And so what needs to happen first is they need to get that negative cat vaccinated, follow up with that booster, And then after, that booster has, the vet would have recommendations for how long to wait before they actually did the introduction. And so, in that kind of environment, we're going to cut down a lot on that, on it passing between those cats. The feline leukemia vaccination has been known to be pretty top notch. So, that's what we would recommend with our adopters. So it just takes a lot of extra counseling on how to do that appropriately, but it has been done.
Would you say that for most of the adopters that come in and adopt one of our FeLV positive cats, are they usually going to be in a single cat household? Do they oftentimes have another negative cat at home? What do you usually see?
I'd say more frequently we have people who are adopting into a single cat household, or they're adopting. We've even had somebody who adopted, a couple people who have adopted multiple, like a couple, like two
Sure.
positive cats from here, or they already have a feline leukemia positive cat at home. So so I think that's like, the no risk way of adopting a feline leukemia positive cat, because no matter what, we can never guarantee anything about, it does, like I said, it does depend on the health of the cat at home. We recommend that cat at home, if they're feline leukemia negative, that they are already in good health. So they already are young and vibrant and have, a good immune system. But if you have like a kitten at home, or if you have like an older cat that has, their immune system may not be top notch anymore, those are things to consider when adopting a feline leukemia positive cat.
Yeah, there's two things that you've touched on that I think are important to highlight. The first being, we really do have a conversation-based adoption process. So, like you were saying, figuring out what would be the right match for your household, what capacity you have for vet care or time and energy. So it's really not like a one-size-fits-all kind of answer a lot of the times.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, if you think about all the different people that are adopting pets, we truly here believe that, nobody should be withheld from the idea of having companionship of a pet. So that just means that people come from all different types and walks of life, and we want to acknowledge that and listen to, what their life is like and how we can help make a companionship happen, but empower that to happen in the best way possible. And so that does mean that we need to have, a conversation about, their lifestyle and what's going to fit best, and make sure that they're set up for success. But that means that our adoption process follows a conversation rather than an application process. So you're not going to come here and, fill out, 2 references and who your vet is, and we don't need to visit your house. So, we're going to sit down like we're friends and have a conversation about how can I make the best match. And it's a little bit like dating. That's kind of what I see it, like matchmaking, dating.
Yeah, I was going to say that. We like to play matchmaker.
Yeah, I personally love doing that. Like I was just telling you, Shannon, I've had several friends that have reached out to me to ask me if I would watch out for cats for them. And I have a series of questions that I ask them about what they're looking for. And then I just keep my eye out for a match that is a cat that might be a good match for them.
Yeah. The other thing you talked about that I think is a common misconception that I hear, we're so fortunate to have this beautiful shelter facility, and a lot of times when people walk in, they say, "Oh my God, the cats must be so happy they never want to leave here." And while yes, we have a beautiful facility, and we make every effort to make our cats as comfortable and healthy as possible while they're here, it is still a stressful environment for them because of all those reasons you said. There are strangers coming in every day, upsetting their living space, changing out their blankies and toys when they have to. We try to limit that so they can keep what they like, but it's still a lot of commotion and upset for creatures who are notorious for liking their own routine.
Yes, absolutely. You're spot on. Their cats are habitual. You know, they thrive on habit. That's why they wake you up at the same time every morning for breakfast. You could probably almost clock it. That's why they start bothering you for dinner at the same time every night. If you noted their tendencies and what their schedule is, they probably get active at the same time every night as well. So they're very habitual. And when you have a cat in a shelter who their habits and their schedule is disrupted regularly, that's really stressful. Like, let's say we come into your house and, you have a flow of your day and somebody comes in and disrupts when you eat lunch and when you go to bed every night. That's incredibly stressful. I would hate that. I have a bedtime and I like my bedtime.
Yes, and it's a stranger coming in too.
Yeah, and a stranger coming in and changing your bedtime and keeping you awake all the time or whatever. So all of those things are incredibly stressful. And so that's one thing that, even though Treehouse, we do our best, and I will say that I think we do it really well at knowing cats really well and knowing what they need and providing enrichment, providing an environment that's the least amount of stress as possible. We really do our best to do that, but it's still not the ideal environment because there's things that need to happen to protect them from viruses and to get them out of the shelter as soon as possible that they have to be ready for. Somebody's sneezing back there.
Yeah. Is that Azriel back there?
That was Thomas O'Malley, your buddy's away.
Thomas O'Malley's back there?
Thomas, hey buddy.
Thomas, come say hi.
He's having a sneezing fit.
Oh, get that kitty a tissue.
I know. I think I might need to check him out here and see if there's no snot though.
He has no desire to come any closer to what we're doing right now. He's like,
Not right now. Not right now. He's as handsome as can be, though.
He's very handsome.
Maybe I'll show you him in just a second once he's done sneezing.
That would be nice. For anyone watching, you should go check out Thomas O'Malley is on our Instagram page today, and he is looking like a meowdle.
I like that, a meowdle.
I didn't make it up. I'm just using it. Cool.
Oh gosh.
Let's take a little chatting break and look at some of the beautiful kitties who we have adopted out over the past few years.
Yeah.
So it started with Pinocchio Jr. and was it Blue Fairy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I was digging up some of the photos, and some of these kitties are so handsome. For example, Sigmund.
Oh, Sigmund. I loved Sigmund. So Sigmund had, if you look at his coat, he has a really unique coat that is called Smoke.
Yeah.
We rarely see this come through Treehouse. And so it's a black fur, but his undercoat is like a grayish, like really beautiful gray color. And so, yeah, it's this smoky color. And it's like my favorite. When I see a smoky cat, I know the tufts of hair. Yeah. Look how handsome. He just looks like a fashion model, doesn't he? Like he has a fur around his neck and he has like some kind of ear bling that's kind of quirky and weird. Like I want to see him walk on a runway.
Yeah, he looks fabulous. I saw him and I was like, we've got to show you off.
Oh, yeah.
So Sigmund came in fall of 2017, and he was about 2 or 3 years old at that time. And he came to us because actually one of our registered colony caretakers had found him and another cat around an abandoned house. So they trapped Sigmund and the other cat, admitted them to Treehouse. And when Sigmund first came, he was pretty shy and scared, but he was still sociable. And then in the medical screenings that we did, he did test positive. So we proceeded to adopt him out in May of 2018. So that means he was here for 7-ish months. Mm-hmm. So it's like you were saying, sometimes these cats can stay with us a little longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our average length of stay is about a month. So if you can consider, that's quite a bit longer than our average length of stay. We would love to see feline leukemia cats get out of here sooner. So if you happen to see one on our website, then, let us know and we'll happily tell you more about it. But yeah, we kept him until he got adopted.
Mm-hmm. That's Sigmund's story. Anna Maria says, "You guys are amazing."
No.
Thanks, Anna Maria.
Thanks for watching, Anna Maria.
Oh, I think she's also laughing at Sigmund's fancy looks.
He's so fancy.
He's funny. Who else did we have in here? Eleanor. I love this photo.
Eleanor.
We're just going to go all the way on Eleanor here.
So Eleanor, I know this is a fierce photo, but she actually, oh my gosh. So Eleanor was such a lap kitty. She loved laps. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. I spent lunches with her many a time. Just loved her. She is soon like the laps wasn't even just like a lap kitty is an understatement for Eleanor. She if you even started to look like you were sitting down, she was like on top of you, just like that. She just loved the lap.
That's awesome. Yeah, Eleanor looks like a great time.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite little friends is Snickers.
Oh, Snickers. Yeah.
Put us all back in here. Are you still there? Let's see. Yes. So Snickers was also found outdoors. She was found in an abandoned garage on the south side, and this was in late summer of last year. And so someone trapped her, took her to a local vet clinic where she tested positive for FeLV. So we admitted her here. She was about 3 years old, and what I remember of Snickers is she was this funny combination of she was shy and nervous, but she also really wanted your love. So she would I remember the first time I met her, we had a little scratcher that had a little tiny scratching hand on the end. And so when you would go to meet her, you would actually just use the little scratcher because she was a little nervous about hands.
Mm-hmm.
And then she worked her way up to full on petting. But even then she would be like, "Don't pet me. Wait, pet me. Wait, don't pet me."
Yeah.
She, really wanted your love, but she was also I don't know.
Yeah, I remember she was very what we call hand shy, and so if you put your hand up to her face, she would kind of recoil.
Yes.
Yeah, but she would kind of turn around and offer her back instead. So she was just no, not there, but over here. That's good. So very communicative. I loved it. Yeah, and she's just the person who found her actually admitted her with a little stuffed animal that she regularly cuddled with. So she definitely loved, having a presence of another living thing there with her. I guess that wasn't living, it was a stuffed animal, but she loved comfort. But yeah, and she definitely, we were worried about her when she was first admitted because she wasn't a fan of the shelter. She hid from us regularly, but we were worried about her coming around and whether she was actually somebody who would, be happy in a home or be happy in the shelter. So yeah, we're so happy that she found a home too.
Yeah, she was a sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
And then another favorite of really anybody who met this cat fell in love with him, and that would be Russ.
Russ. Oh, the days that I thought that our executive director was going to take him home.
Yes, she has a thing for orange tabbies.
Yes, she does. She does. She already had 2 at home, and I think that was her limit. But she visited him all the time, and I think we were all watching. But yeah, Russ found his home. He actually found his home at the top of COVID, at the top of our quarantine.
Oh, yeah, in March.
Yeah. So yeah, he was just a favorite. So something that he always did that was really funny is he was so food motivated. And so if you saw somebody walking down the hallway, you know, and he thought it was dinner time every single time he saw somebody outside of his room.
Yeah.
Oh boy, and he would just meow and meow and meow, and when you went out in there with a plate of food, he would just get so excited.
Yes, he was a very sweet boy. And he came to us from like a shelter partner, right? Do they regularly transport their FeLV cats to us?
So we have, the way we kind of deal with it is we have several shelters that reach out to us on a regular basis, and just shelters all over the place. You know, I think that in general, we're kind of known nationwide by other groups that we do adopt out feline leukemia cats, which is why we, you know, spoke at the HSUS conference and stuff. And so we have a little wait list. And as people reach out to us, we place them on that wait list, and then we let them know what kind of things we need to get done before they come to the shelter, and you know, the tests that we need to see that they've actually tested positive, and then we arrange for transportation. And Russ was one of those that came in through that through a transfer from another group. So I think that they've only transferred with us once, maybe twice. It's hard to track because there's a lot of groups that reach out to us.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about testing just a little bit, but I also want to open it up for anyone watching who has questions about FeLV or Treehouse in general. If you're new to Treehouse, feel free to send your questions. We will answer them as they come.
Do our best.
Or if you just wanna see Thomas O'Malley and you'd like to express that, we can try that too.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
He went from lounging in one spot to lounging in another. So.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah. You said he was in his cage earlier, and now he's.
Yeah. He came out, and then Azriel, who is his roommate right now, gave her warnings that she was not a fan. And then he went up in a bed and just fell asleep. So if you're into like a dude that'll just like, okay, cool. Like, he's pretty low maintenance, I think it seems like.
Yeah. Does Azriel want to say hi?
Let me see. I don't know. I can't take this with me. It has a very short cord. So.
Oh, yeah.
But let me see if I can bring somebody over to say hi. Azriel, hi. Hi, baby girl. You want to come say hi? You want to come say hi?
These sound effects are great. Oh, I see somebody watching us back there too. I think that's Peekaboo.
Peekaboo. Yeah, we'll show you Peekaboo in just a second. So she's a little nervous, so she might want to jump down. I'm going to let her if she wants to. But this is Azriel. She has a beautiful fur coat. I don't want to like show her off and pull her up in the air right now, but she is shaved in the back right now, which makes her look like she has like a fur coat on right now, and it's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But she is, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with her. If I could show you properly, she's really short, and so she's really petite. She reminds me of, there's an older actress who was just really like, and I think I can't remember her name. I'm trying to reference something that I can't actually name right now.
I wish I could help you.
Yeah. But yeah, she's adorable, and I love her, and I just love to come down and visit her. She's like that short. Can you tell on the screen? She's so short, and she has a big fluffy tail. Just very unique little lady. Let me see if I can show you somebody else here. Hold on. In case, and I know there's some questions. Do we have some time to see one more kitty?
Yeah, let's see one more kitty, and I will queue up our question.
Cool. Hi. Hi, babies. Hey. Oh my gosh, I might have to see two.
Oh.
So, this is Peekaboo.
Oh, Peekaboo.
Oh, a little nervous.
We'll be quiet for Peekaboo.
Peek. So this is Peekaboo. Very, very sweet kitty. Oh, she's not liking this.
No, that's okay.
very, very sweet kitty, just a little nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're somebody who wants a beautiful gray kitty, and she's young, and she's a little healthy girl, and she's very, very sweet, and she loves pets, she's a good head butter.
Oh, that's good to know. I do like a good headbutt. Okay, thank you, Peekaboo, for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, she did. She was very tolerant for a little bit. Okay, go back in there. I think she's starting to get comfy for a nap, so I interrupted.
That's pretty rude of you, Danielle. I'm not going to lie. So Anne says, do you know what percentage of all cats are FeLV positive?
Yes. Kind of. I believe in the United States, it's between like 1% and 3%. It's pretty low, very low. Yeah. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah.
It's pretty low, which is good. And we can continue to decrease that hopefully through TNR.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Anne, for your question.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to ask you about, Danielle, was testing for FeLV. I know that that's something that has, over time, we've changed our testing protocol as we've learned more and grown to know more. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So, sorry, let's scoot my chair closer. So testing, like I said, can be a little bit confusing. So depending on when you test, the health of the cat when you test, and the type of test you use can all be a factor in what kind of result you get. So, I would encourage people to, do a little bit of research on the testing methods before they do a test for feline leukemia. One of the best resources is probably the University of Wisconsin and their veterinary medicine school. So if you want to know more about the testing methods, if you're interested in testing your own cat or interested in testing a cat that you found, I just recommend looking into it. So sometimes, your private vet may not have all of the information because they're usually not dealing with infectious disease. They deal with kidney disease and cancer, and they're incredibly knowledgeable about that stuff. But they don't have to deal with infectious disease very often, not like a shelter. And so, a positive combo test, which is usually, it might be, you might know it as a SNAP test, that can be a false positive or a false negative. And so with that kind of information, being an infectious disease, it may not actually be positive, it may not actually be negative. And so here at Tree House, what we do, we don't combo test every cat. And so that's a practice that we used to have, but it actually wastes a lot of money because if you test a healthy cat, if you test all healthy cats, there's going to be a lot more potential for false positives. And so it's not a good determinant of whether or not that cat actually has feline leukemia. It also depends on, if they were exposed to feline leukemia, that timeline of when they were exposed matters greatly in when you test them. And so if you get a cat off of the street and you bring them in and you test them, and if you know nothing about their history or if they've been exposed to feline leukemia or whatever, we may not actually know the best information for the results of the test. So, as you can see,
you're saying we could have just tested them at the wrong time.
Yeah, we could have. And so let's say they were exposed to feline leukemia, they're an incredibly healthy cat. They may, they may test positive for the feline leukemia, but their body might actually fight it off. And so they might not actually have it. And if we test, in another 30 days, we might get a completely different result. And then there's another factor in feline leukemia, which is that sometimes the virus itself can be dormant, is I guess a good word for it. So we may not get a positive test until they become ill with it. And so with that known, we might have a cat that is positive that's not actually showing up positive.
Right.
So it's very confusing. It's a very complex virus, and a lot of researchers are doing a lot of information on it. I highly recommend the latest research from the American AAFP, I believe, Feline Practitioners Association for something Feline Practitioners. I should know that second word. I can't think of it right now.
Everyone just Google something feline practitioner and you should be fine.
I think it's AAFP.
Yes, and also if you do have questions about FeLV, there's one more I would like to answer, but you can always reach out to us. We do have some educational materials we can share that answer common questions about FeLV, so feel free to reach out at the email address you see on the screen. And Anne did ask one other question. You mentioned that you could mix them, meaning FeLV negative cats. Wait, you mentioned that you could mix them with non-FeLV positive as long as they were vaccinated. Right. How do you feel about mixing them with senior kitties as long as they are vaccinated?
So now remember, the one thing to keep in mind is that vaccination is one factor that's going to help us in it not spreading. The fact that it doesn't live outside of the body very well is going to help us in the factor in it not spreading. But the other thing is it has to do with the cat that's living in that environment, and that they have a very strong, healthy immune system, because that's going to be another factor. And as you know, if you're a baby kitten or if you're a senior, we all know that immune systems are not going to be as strong in kittens or in seniors, just like humans. And so those are factors to take seriously in how well it might transfer to another cat. We can't guarantee it either way, because like I said, feline leukemia is a very complex virus and we're still learning more about it every day. But it's something, that you would need to very seriously consider in taking in a feline leukemia positive cat.
Right. You would essentially have to be comfortable with the fact that their risk is a little bit higher, right? Yeah. Because their immune system is lower if they're a senior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And thanks, Anne, for your question. And Barb asked, what is the average lifespan of an FeLV positive cat?
Good question, Barb. I feel like, yes, I know Barb. I've seen her before. Hello, Barb. Hi, Barb. I see the picture. She actually has a photo with hers.
Yeah, I like that.
Hi, Barb. So from the time of diagnosis, it's typically 2 to 4 years. That's kind of the average. But there's a couple of things to take into consideration, that like the time of diagnosis may not be, like we said before, we may not actually know the exact time of like them kind of being positive for feline leukemia, or being exposed. And then the other thing to consider is that every cat is different, just like every human is different. And so they may have their own set of health issues separate from feline leukemia altogether that are going to kind of factor in whether or not they're gonna have other complex issues coming up while they have feline leukemia, or while they're feline leukemia positive. So 2 to 4 years, cats have been known to live longer. Cats have been known to live a shorter span, and we can't say for sure, but it's definitely mostly going to be shorter than an average cat.
Right. Thanks, Barb.
Thanks, Barb.
Alrighty, well, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to email us at info@treehouseanimals.org, or just go ahead and leave your questions and comments here on this video and we will follow up with you. We hope that this was educational and informative, and maybe taught you something you didn't know about FeLV before. Definitely check out Adoptable Cats on our website. We do have cats both at the shelter and in foster homes right now. Actually, we have a lot of cats in foster homes right now. And we do currently have one cat who is FeLV positive, and that is Fluffy. So you can find Fluffy on our website. Do you know how old Fluffy is? I think Fluffy's a young adult.
I want to say off the top of my head, I think that younger than 5.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. There's a lot of cats with us right now.
That's
Most of them
true.
are in foster, but yeah.
Yeah. Check out information on Fluffy and some great photos of Fluffy on our website or on our social media channels. Again, thanks for joining us today, Danielle. Thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Of course, anytime. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Yeah, and we will be back next week for another discussion. The topic next time is going to be, can't remember off the top of my head, so tune in. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good one. You can always guarantee to have a good time with Shannon.
Can you tell it's Friday Junior? Okay, everyone, thanks for joining us. Danielle, go hang out with Thomas O'Malley, and everyone take care.
Bye. Thanks for coming in.